ready to go.
Call the Thursday, December 14th commission meeting to order. First item would be approval of November 21st minutes. Any changes? Stand as written. Next item on the agenda would be citizen comments for non-agenda items. Seeing none, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda, employee promotions and new hires.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jeff Crispin, Director of Water Resources. Tonight I have with me Patrick Jones. Patrick came to the city from Hess Services at the end of October. He's been there for about a month and a half. He's doing a great job as a maintenance worker one for our department. Tonight he's with his wife Ashley. They have a son Leo, and we're glad to have Patrick with us. So he's doing a great job. Thank you.
Welcome, Patrick. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming tonight. Thank you, Ashley.
Good evening, Don Scheibler, Chief of Police for the Hayes Police Department. Tonight it's my pleasure to introduce one of our newest police officers, David Odle. Dave originally out of Elkhart, Kansas, out of high school. He joined the Marine Corps. He went and worked for the Liberal Police Department, where he's very successful. I know I've had this discussion with the commission before. When you're trying to hire a police officer, you're trying to find a good person who's a good fit for your team, and more importantly, a good fit for the community. And I think we found that in Dave. More importantly for us, and the big benefit for us, that he brings about 19 years with law enforcement experience with him. That experience has really shown through. He's hit the ground running. He's doing a great job for us, and I'm just as happy to have him with us. So thank you for having us.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Should be just two.
Just two? Good. Next item on the agenda will be the consent agenda. First one will be the cereal malt beverage license applications. On that one, there's
That's just for recommendation for the next meeting, but it's updated.
even on the cereal malt.
No, it's just the mayoral appointments.
Yeah, and then on the updated mayoral appointments would be Hayes Convention Visitors Bureau, Bethany Bale, Sean Patel, Leah Purdy, and Stacy Smith. So do we need to have a vote on the cereal malt, I'm
Right.
assuming? Okay.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Swaller, second by Commissioner Meyer. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda would be opting out of the Public Employee Relations Act.
The commission discussed this matter at the meeting on November 30th, I believe, or the 26th, and it was tabled until last week's work session, where it was discussed again, and the city commission asked the ordinance that would remove the city of Hayes from the Public Employee Relations Act to be placed on the agenda this evening.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 3945, withdrawing the city of Hayes from participation in PIRA.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Jacobs. Any comments? Would you guys like
I think I pretty much said it all at the work session I brought it up at, but I think there's a lot of people here. If there's questions or comments from the audience, and I would entertain them before a vote. But
I would also. Anybody would like to speak again?
Good evening. Brandon Woods, President, International Association of Firefighters, Local 2119. I gave you guys a statement in that last commission meeting. I took some highlights out of that just to repeat again tonight that I felt are important in, talking about PARA. Coverage under PARA has led to a harmonious and cooperative relationship between the city of Hayes and its employees because of good faith dealings by the employer, employees, and the labor organization. Employment matters likely to be litigated in the courts have been resolved in a fair manner under provisions of the collective bargaining agreement. The city of Hayes has worked under PARA since 1972. I believe that the long-term success of the coverage under PARA is due to the commitment of both sides. That was evident during the meet and confer process this year. I'll speak from our local in dealing with the city this year. It was the easiest and I feel the quickest negotiations we've had. So to end my statement, I'll just quote how I ended the last one. Employees under PARA and its labor organizations have established and developed harmonious and cooperative relationships. This was precisely the purpose of the enactment of PARA and such on behalf of the IAFF Local 2119 and the Hayes firefighters, I respectfully request that the City Commissioners consider continued coverage under para. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Hello, my name is Philip Gage, and I'm the president for Lodge Number 48 for the Fraternal Order of Police. Just like my last statement, keep it short and sweet. I wish we would stay under para, just for the fact that we've been operating under it for over 40 plus years. And my involvement with it has been very smooth for the bargaining that I've been a part of. I would just like to see the city continue to stay under that, just for the fact that we do have union members that elect a representative to go speak on their behalf. And I feel like a lot of those employees value that, to have somebody come and speak to the city on behalf for those wage negotiations. That's why I would just strongly urge that you just vote to keep us under para. That's all I have tonight.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What do you, however the vote goes, what do you think would change if we opt out of it?
What would change?
Yeah.
And that I'm not certain on what all would change. I feel like our voice would be taken away from us. That would be the one thing that we would have. You know, it's a new horizon. If you guys do like to get out of it, that I'm not. It's just uncertain for me.
Right.
But what we have now, I'm certain of, and the way it works, and it's been working for 40 plus years.
Right.
And I'd like to see it continue that way.
Well, my only comments, and I mean, you guys are loud and clear of my opinion on this, is I'm just not a big fan of this is the way we've always done it. I just think sometimes they actually get you in trouble just doing it the way we've always done it. But and I've talked to many of you individually, I don't think if they would vote against it or however it's voted, I don't think it is taking the union away. I understand your voice part of it, but so I guess I'm just trying to curious what you guys think you're losing if we vote against it.
Just think the able to bring to the table and discuss what's going to happen in the future.
Okay.
That's what I think we would.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The only comments I have, I did second the motion. I'll be voting in favor of this motion tonight. After educating myself, I did a lot of fact-finding. I didn't have a lot of familiarity with unions prior to this. I've spoken with staff, I've spoken with union members, I've spoken with citizens and union leadership. I believe the City of Hayes is an outstanding employer focused on what is in the best interest not only of our city, but of all of our associates. The Wage and Benefit Committee provides strong input in decisions relative to pay and benefits, and staff is inherently focused on a great work environment. It's also my understanding that we're having good participation of all three unions at the Wage and Benefits Committee. After considering all the facts, I'm focused on staff productivity and efficiency, and I believe union activity and negotiation impacts both those areas. And in speaking with union members and representatives, they, for the most part, could not provide examples of what may have benefited our employees solely because of their negotiations. That's the reason I'm voting in favor of the motion.
If I may address the council, I prepared a statement if you'd like to read along. And I will try my best to address all these points. We've had some discussion, but not enough dialogue really to go all the way through it. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to address the council. I'm glad to see that Commissioner Jones is feeling better, and I appreciate his concerns for everyone's health and avoiding the spread of illness during the last meeting. I would also like to recognize all of the people that are attending this meeting this evening in support of the city continuing to remain under PIRA. If you would please quietly raise your right hand in solidarity. Thank you. You can lower your hand. As stated in previous commission meetings, the relationship between unions and the City of Hayes has existed for nearly 45 years. The purpose of these agreements, as stated in the preamble of the contract between SEIU Local 513 and the City of Hayes, Kansas, is to promote in a cooperative manner a harmonious relationship between the employer and the union, and to provide for an equitable and peaceful procedure for the resolution of differences relating to work and other conditions of employment. And I'm here tonight to respectfully request that you vote to remain under PIRA and continue to recognize the collective bargaining rights for workers right here in Hayes, America. I would like to address the points of concern that have been shared with me by some commissioners, and I will also be happy to answer questions and respond at my conclusion. I would like to start by addressing the three major concerns I heard during our discussions. The first is SEIU's low membership numbers. The second concern is the amount and the nature of grievances filed by unions. And the third is the belief that a wage and benefit committee can take the place of union representation for salary and benefits. To the first point, our membership numbers are low, and I attribute this to two factors. The first is that my predecessors did not have the customer service that our current staff provides, and I also believe a lack of engagement caused numbers to drop, and the efforts to increase membership were not executed well or often enough. Sorry, I lost my place there. The second factor generally stated by employees is cost. They say that they can't afford the 1.5% cost of union membership because they're strapped just trying to afford the additional cost of their health insurance and living expenses. Because of our low numbers, it has also been conveyed that some members of the commission have questions as to whether the union represents the voice of all the workers. And I can only assume that the majority are satisfied with the agreements, as I have never seen or heard of any of them sending the city notices rejecting the benefits or the wages negotiated by our union. It is important to acknowledge that while numbers for SEIU are low, higher wage earners like police and fire have greater numbers in their membership, and as a whole, all of the unions combined do exceed 50% of the represented work population. If the question of representation is truly the concern of the Commission, there are provisions for employee-led decertification of unions, should they desire to do so. However, to date, I've yet to hear this concern requested from any represented member, non-members, in a commission meeting or a union meeting, which they're always welcome to attend, or even privately. In fact, so far, there are no employees or members of the public who have attended these meetings to speak or written letters or emails in favor of seeing the City of Hayes end its relationship with unions. The second major concern that was shared was with regard to unions filing grievances that the city feels are without merit and excessive. I can only say that SEIU prides itself on bringing only legitimate grievances to the table, as we have limited resources in which to conduct business, and we want to ensure the best use of our member contributions, as does the city with taxpayer dollars. However, grievances will not go away by simply severing the relationship with unions, and that's why I would like to respectfully point out that the time and money spent to resolve these issues with the unions in grievances or arbitrations pales in comparison to legal fees for settling the same or similar disputes in court. We have already agreed to equitable resolutions and differences relating to work and other conditions of employment. In the long run, we have a mutual interest in resolving issues so that workers can focus on the job at hand. The third item to be addressed is that some of you have expressed an opinion about the lack of need for unions because of the formation of a wage and benefit committee. While the Wage and Benefit Committee is a great study group to determine the feasibility and to make recommendations as to the direction the city should move with regard to wages and benefits, it is not an adequate replacement for union representation, and it falls short in several areas. After all, it is you, the commissioners, that agree or disagree to the negotiated contract, and no wage or benefit committee will be in a position to negotiate with commissioners, which has been the collective right of workers for the past 45 years. A wage and benefit committee void of union representation is generally selected by management and not the employees, as the unions are. Regardless of the intent to be fair and impartial, this creates an imbalance from the beginning. Secondly, best laid plans or good intentions can be put on paper, but without unions who will be there to enforce the agreement when it becomes less than convenient to fulfill the promised benefits or wages. I believe that the Commission has the best intentions while they are considering this decision, but it is relevant to point out that many of the workers for the City of Hayes have had these jobs before your time on the Commission, and they will likely be working for the city for years after your service concludes. What benefit do you see in taking away a right that previous commissioners thought important to preserve? Our president, Donald J. Trump, ran a very successful presidential campaign last year. He captivated the hearts of the Kansas voters with a slogan, "Make America Great Again." It's very clear that those voters believe that making America great again meant taking care of our veterans, buying American-made products, and using American labor, and restoring good jobs with good benefits to hard-working Americans. That includes workers for the city of Hayes. Making America great again means ensuring wages that allow workers not only to survive, but to save. It means restoring lost benefits, not taking away collective bargaining rights for workers who fought for what many workers take for granted as the standard today. Making America great again doesn't happen in Washington, D.C. It happens right here on Main Street, America, and it happens tonight. Which one of you will vote to protect the collective bargaining rights of the American worker, and which of you will vote to strip your neighbor of his or her rights? I ask you to consider your decision carefully. Thank you for your consideration and your service.
Can I address it? Okay. Very good speech. I would like to address your 3 points that we had. First of all, the low membership is something that you and I talked about on the phone. It isn't something that was a concern of mine when I brought this issue forward. However, since you brought it up,
Sure.
the decertification process the city did try to decertify SEIU in 2013.
13.
The numbers rose briefly above. The process worked against the city. The state allowed SEIU months to get the membership up. They did. It remained up for about a year, and it has never been above the required 50% since then. So the decertification process under PIRA does not work. It worked against the city in that case. I wasn't intending on bringing that up, but since you brought up the decertification and the fact the city has not tried to do that is not true.
Well, since you have Commissioner Jones, doesn't that prove my point moreover, that once people signed up, they sent the message that they want unions. However, they can't afford to pay that 1.5% because of their wages, and when their insurance started to change price-wise, they ended their union benefits. We see that happen all the time in many work groups. When the employer cuts the benefits for the worker gets mad at the union, and they tell us, well, you couldn't get that for me, so I'm going to punish you and end my membership with you.
PIRA states that you must maintain 50%, a majority of it. So
I do agree.
the
And if the
decertification
employees want to
process
do it,
does not work.
If the employees, if it
If we
was led
tried
by
to
them, we'd
decertify the SEIU again, the same thing would happen, membership would rise. Once the state would not decertify SEIU, then the membership would drop again. Just my presumption, but presumption based on facts of the past.
I understand you believe that,
So,
and I respect your position.
The third position is your third statement, the belief the Wage and Benefit Committee can take place of the union. We're not trying to replace the unions. Opting out of PIRA does not get rid of unions. You guys still have a voice. It's just the way that we negotiate, the city negotiates with unions. It doesn't, the unions can still stay in place. That's
As-
up to the unions whether or not they want to
As we've discussed
exist.
before, it just merely turns the unions into a social club, is what it does. And if we do not have the right to exercise our collective bargaining rights under PIRA, what's the point in sitting around talking about work? I mean, there's no purpose to continue a union if the union is not there to fight for the rights of the workers.
PIRA is only for public employees. There's many unions that are not part of public employees.
I
They
understand.
they do not cease to exist because they're not under PIRA. So that, if you guys
In a
want
right-to-work state, sir? I mean, I would believe you if you were talking about Missouri or California, but I feel that what you're saying is somewhat disingenuous because I can't count on one of my hands other unions in Kansas that operate in the fashion that you're describing.
The airline industry don't have unions in Wichita?
I don't represent them. Can you name one? You're
I
asking me a
cannot.
question and I'm asking you.
I cannot.
I can't tell you something I don't know if you don't know it.
So anyways, that's just to address your three things. I'm not going to sit here and debate on it, but to address two of your 3 points that you brought up.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate your
Thank you.
response. Anyone else?
I've appreciated the phone calls that you've gotten. I got from you, Esau.
Thank you, sir.
You're professional, and I appreciated everything that you had to say. So I know that sometimes this can be probably a little bit personal for you, but I just want you to understand that I've appreciated you. I think that you've been professional, and I think you've represented your union well.
Well, thank you very much.
And I agree with that as
And
well,
really, guys,
Esau.
this
You did a
is,
good
this
job.
is business. This isn't personal. I don't hold anything against any of you. We all have different ideas and different ideologies, and you're merely exercising your rights as elected officials. So thank you very much for your time and your service, and if there's no more questions, I'll take a seat.
Thank you,
Thank
Esau.
you. I'll just, excuse me, I apologize. I just want to, I guess, before we call for the vote, I guess a few weeks ago when we discussed this, I offended Commissioner Jones with my words. I think they were a little bit too strong, what I said. I won't take back what I said because I felt like it came from what I believe in. But I didn't want to represent the commission in a bad way. I don't want to throw them under the bus. I have mutual respect for all these guys. We all have to make decisions on a weekly basis that are tough, and and I believe I feel like I do that every week, and I do it with I always look at my community first. That's what I did this for. So, Commissioner Jones, in public, I want to apologize to you because I got a pretty nasty email from you. I absolutely disagree with the words you said to me, but if I offended you, if that's what offends you, I apologize for that. So, going forward, I mean, you guys know where I stand, so unless you guys have any other comments, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You go ahead.
No, you go first.
I appreciate everybody showing up. For me, in a way, I agree with Commissioner Jones in that, in my view, this isn't taking away the unions. This is simply changing how we negotiate with the unions, because we don't have that power to get rid of unions, point blank. We just don't. All we can do is remove ourselves from the way that we negotiate with the unions. So in this instance, I think that there's two interests that I really want to look out for. One is the interest of the employees, and that's all 178 employees, whether they're a supervisor or a worker, or whether they're a union member or a non-union member. The other interest that I want to look out for is the taxpayer and the general interest of the city. And sometimes those two things compete with each other, and I think this is one of those instances. The other thing that I always want to look out for is short-term benefit or short-term pain versus long-term benefit or long-term pain. For me, this is a decision that I think 10 years from now is going to benefit the city of Hayes if we remove ourselves from PIRA. So I'll be voting in favor of the ordinance tonight.
Well, so probably one of the most difficult decisions ever had to make. The reason that the city joined PIRA in the early 1970s was out of necessity. We had professional people working for the city and not earning a living wage. Firemen, policemen, and our service workers. We also had a management style at that time that was not employee friendly. And so the commission decided to adopt PIRA, and it has worked quite well. Have there been hiccups along the way? Oh yes, there have been. We are only as good as our weakest link, whether it's on the management side or the employee side. And when I first joined the commission, a couple city managers ago, we had a very aggressive and unpleasant approach to working with unions, and that was, I remember the quote, we're going to go knock them around by the heads a little bit until they see it our way. And of course that doesn't lead to a harmonious working relationship, didn't work. And I will say that under this city manager, we've had a very good relationship with the unions. He's very frank, very honest with them. But again, in my experience, which is different than the other four, having unions here, and some might say, well, they're not necessary. They were prominent not before 1948, but the unions are important to us because as we put our budget together and as we began to think about health care, retirement plans, and compensation, we always think about, well, how are we going to negotiate this? How will it look? We want to put our best offer on the table going forward. And so in that way, and I don't mean this literally, but it does keep us honest, because it makes us think about, well, how are we going to treat our employees in those three again, hours, wages, and working conditions. And so my fear is that not anything will happen in the short run if this happens, but that the next city manager probably won't be like Toby. I don't know who that'll be, and I probably won't be on this body then. And that would be my fear, that we go back to that kind of autocratic leader, and then the morale will suffer. So how would the community suffer? We won't, because we do represent everyone in the community, including the employees. Well, if you have employees that are not motivated, they're not treated well, how are they going to perform on the job? Particularly if they're first responders, fire and police. You want the very best. We're struggling now to keep our numbers up in the police department. How's this going to look to someone that wants to, or even think about applying to work in Hayes? Oh, they just voted to get rid of the FOP. Is that going to look good? I don't think so. So that's why I'm voting no tonight. And I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Passes 3-2. Next item on the agenda, 4 days municipal golf course, back 9 car paths, award of bid.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jeff Boyle, Director of Parks. Last week we talked about the golf course cart paths. Excuse me. The cart paths were installed in 1998. They're made of asphalt. At that time, they worked really well, but over the years they've deteriorated to the point where they need to be replaced. Specifically, I'm talking about the back 9. Front 9 will be a few years from now, but it's coming as well. Each year, city staff is required to perform a lot of maintenance on these cart paths. And I've got a few pictures here I'd like to show you. You can see the patchwork that's been done over the years. Lots of deterioration. So we went out for bids, and bids were opened on November 7, 2017 for the replacement of approximately 4,935 linear feet. That's designated by the red line on the map here. 10 bids were received for this project. Morgan Brothers Construction of La Crosse, Kansas provided the lowest bid amount of $84,619.25. The bid documents were structured with a base bid plus additional work prices to allow flexibility in awarding the contract amount to fully utilize available funding. Since the bid came in below the available funding, staff recommends awarding not only the base bid of $84,619.25, but also the yellow line that's on the map for $15,380.75. That is a total of 5,848 linear feet of concrete cart paths. And the total amount of those two combined areas, the red and the yellow, is right at $100,000. An amount of $102,448 is available in the Golf Course Improvement Fund. This is the funding for this budget. Basically, it comes from members or players who want to bring their private golf carts onto the course. They're required to pay an annual fee of $105 per golf cart. So basically, we've been banking that money for several years to get these done. The recommended contractor has proposed an early January start date, and bid documents require a completion date of May 15th. Staff is requesting to enter into a contract with Morgan Brothers for the $100,000 amount to begin the cart paths at the Fort Hays Municipal Golf Course. Any questions?
I'd move that we authorize the city manager to execute a contract for the base bid of $84,619.25 plus $15,388.75 of additional work to the low bidder Morgan Brothers Construction for a total amount of $100,000 from the Golf Course Improvement Trail Fee Fund for the removal and replacement of cart paths on the back nine at the Fort Hays Municipal Golf Course.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Jacobs. Comments?
The only comment I had, and I asked the question last week, was that we were going to keep most of the course open all the time for those guys that want to play every month.
Yeah, the only
Since they're still out
the only
there.
thing we might have to do is close one hole that they're working on.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll have every
I did
hole.
actually had a couple calls. and
Right.
that they
Oh, I'm
like-
sure,
They
yes.
like to play that course all winter long.
Right.
How many, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna, I just thought maybe it would be important to point out that this is fee fund money, this is not taxpayer money, this is a fee that the people who use the course are paying, so they're the ones who are paying for the improvements. I've had some questions where folks, I think, were confused about where this money was coming from.
Right, this is 100% generated funds from the golf course trail fee.
I have to say, when I first seen this come up on the agenda, I was like, oh, another golf course thing, like, but then seeing the pictures of it and knowing that they, this is fee funded, if I wouldn't want to pay $105 to drive my golf cart on that thing, so.
Right. That's what we've been hearing a lot.
I think it's a very nice upgrade to a very nice golf course that we have for our community. So it's a very good deal. Call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. This is 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Next item, annexation portion of the proposed Otley addition.
Good evening, Jesse Rohr, Director of Public Works. I'd like to visit tonight about a request for an annexation that was submitted to City Hayes for a portion of what we're calling the proposed Otley addition. Property in question, just to make sure everyone's familiar with the property, is located north of I-70. It is immediately west of the Walmart property and south of 48th Street. Here's a closer view of the property. See, everything highlighted in red is obviously the property being requested to be annexed. Everything in the blue shaded is already currently annexed. The green towards the left of the screen is not. You can see this is directly abutting currently annexed property. The property, besides annexation, is in the process of being platted and zoned as well. A portion of the property is already zoned C2, general commercial, and the remainder is being considered at the December 18th Planning Commission next week to be zoned C2 also during the public hearing. The plating and zoning approvals are expected to come before the City Commission in January, assuming they are approved by the Planning Commission, as well as any other development-related items that may require City Commission approval for this property. State statute, as well as city ordinance, gives you two options on an annexation request. Obviously, you can either annex the property as requested or not.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve ordinance number 3946, annexing a portion of, I don't want to say this, I want to say, why are we calling it the proposed? But anyway, of the proposed Otley addition as further legally described in the approving ordinance to the city of Hayes, Kansas.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Swaller, second by Commissioner Jones.
Why is it called the proposed? Why
It's
would-
not the Otley addition yet because the plat hasn't
Has
been
been
approved.
approved.
So-
Yeah, that'll be coming in a few
So here,
weeks.
like I said, next week, Monday, we expect the final plat to get approved by the
Drives
Planning
me
Commission.
nuts.
But the legal description is about 300 words, so I think they were just
Well,
cutting.
Sandy being the.
He's gonna read it. Yeah,
We got
exactly.
Sandy to make that motion.
Any the longest.
I struggle writing that as well as you struggle saying it, believe me, so.
But, thank you.
Well, I will say with potential what's going to happen on this land, the buzz around this community last week was really awesome to hear. So I'm excited for this if everything comes through. Good. All in favor, or, yeah, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Sandy's next one is the 2017 boundary resolution. That's when you get to read it on TV.
Yeah, we're gonna step out.
Good evening, Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. Kansas statute requires cities to pass a resolution redefining the entire boundary of the city whenever property is annexed into the city limits during a calendar year. Certified copy of the resolution is filed with the county clerk, the register of deeds, and the state transportation engineer. The blue line on this map shows the new boundary of the city. The box at the top, the red box at the top, is the newly annexed property. There's only been one annexation within the city limits since the last boundary resolution was passed on December 22nd, 2016. So ordinance 3929 was passed on March 9, 2017, annexing one lot at 5040 General Hayes Road. This property is up north of the dealerships Lewis Chrysler and Toyota, just abutting the business Joe Bob Outfitters. So pretty simple, straightforward. Tonight we're asking for the approval of the resolution 2017-15.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve resolution 27-015, which redefines boundaries or corporate limits of the city of Hayes, Kansas.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Swaller, second by Commissioner Myers. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That's 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commission inquiries and comments. Commissioner Jacobs?
I just have one comment this evening. There was an article in the Tuesday edition of the Hayes Daily News with one of the members of the school board. It was a very well-written article, a very good article. There were some great comments in it. The one section I really wanted to make a comment from my perspective, and it's actually a quote, and it's what Ellen Schwartz also said, "Work is needed to repair relations with the Hayes City Commission." They continued, Waddell said it was his perception there is still animosity between the city commission and the school district. I don't know how that needs to be fixed, but it does. We need to be walking together in the future rather than taking separate paths, he said. I really took exception to that because I have absolutely no feelings of animosity to school board members in any way, shape, or form, and I apologize for this thing beeping. I am anxious to see the next step they take. I think they've got some great thoughts already going on. I think the meeting the other night was very clear. I think the board member Waddell had some great comments. I think something's good's going to come out of this, and I hope the city is part of it, and I would give all the support that they need as they plan this process.
I have nothing.
Nothing, thank you.
I don't have anything.
I have nothing. Merry Christmas.
We're going to be
We'll
here
be back
next
before
week.
then.
I'll see you before then.
Oh, we have another meeting?